When you think about world domination, the name Russia causes a lot of fear and apprehension. It is a country that has the power to destroy the world if they wish to, and has one of the most appalling military forces on Earth. You would expect nothing else from a nation that was once the controlling member in the Soviet Union, and is currently at the center of international politics due to the Ukrainian aggression. When it comes to economy and cultural state, Russia has a high position, and the country is also well known for its vodka and alcoholic drinks. The nation has a way of bringing out tough people, and you would expect nothing less from a country whose capital is one of the coldest inhabited cities on Earth. Now, you cannot talk about Russia without quoting one man, a man who makes you shudder once he's seen. You probably have an idea of whom we're talking about. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, the president of Russia. Many groups and people view Putin as a dictator, while a good part of the Russian populace considers him as a great leader, and because of this, he is quite a controversial figure. Putin came into power in 1999, and since then, he has made sure to continue enjoying the seat of power. And from all the indications, seems he will continue to do so, as he constantly revises the constitution to allow himself more terms as president. Vladimir Putin was a real star up until a few months ago. He was mysterious and people all over the world admired him. That was of course before people found out he was a lunatic man who was ready to blow up the world if the heads of foreign states didn't respect him and his country. No matter if he was portrayed shirtless on a horse, swimming in a river, playing hockey, or just punching a bear in the face, the Russian president, who is such a unique leader, emanates authority, brute strength, and a kind of charismatic terror. Without doubt, we can say that Vladimir Putin is a scary leader, with him being the absolute policymaker of Russia and being ruthless in crushing dissidents. But you must have wondered about the daily routine of the Russian president. How does he run a country as vast as Russia? Now, although Putin is one hell of a reserved man and shows no emotion, from various sources we have come up with the answer to your question. We are going to explore how Vladimir Putin spends the 24 hours of his day, from when he wakes up to when he goes to sleep. While most Westerners might think that President Putin starts his day by drinking a glass of vodka, punching a dissident in the face, and arm wrestling a bear, the truth is that Russia's leader has a much more boring morning when he doesn't have to go overseas. Vladimir Putin is not an early riser. When the president doesn't have to go abroad, he likes to stay in bed until noon. That's why he looks scary even though he's almost 70 years old. He rarely values the healthy benefits of sleep, and Putin is well known for taking great care of his health and physical well-being. The next thing on his agenda is breakfast, and he pays quite a lot of attention to this. His breakfast is the most boring thing you can think of. He usually eats an omelette, fresh fruit juice, porridge, and, if he's feeling wild, some cottage cheese. These abs need their protein after all. Even though his breakfast is as plain as it gets, it is not cheap. The ingredients for his breakfast were picked fresh from local farms owned by Patriarch Kirill, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, and cooked in his own kitchen by his personal, well-trained and well-paid cook. As you might have guessed, Putin has a general fear of getting poisoned due to his position, just like many other Russian dictators before him. This is expressly shown by the fact that the Russian president always pays a lot of attention to what he eats and drinks, and he always prefers taking his personal cook with him when he travels abroad. Putin's cook is of course one of his closest friends, and he pays him well for his loyalty, and most likely for the tasty porridge he prepares. That doesn't mean that when the president goes on diplomatic trips, he rejects all the good food. However, Russia's secret services have to authorize everything Putin decides to eat before he even touches it. As a former KGB agent, Putin knows far too well how things can go wrong if you're not paying attention. Interestingly, Russia's president refuses to drink milk, and it's unclear if it's because he doesn't like it or if it has to do with something else. After finishing his meal, Putin will enjoy a cup of Novichok-free coffee in his enormous palace just outside of Moscow. The Russian leader certainly knows how to live large. His Novo-Ogaryovo estate certainly has everything he needs, with its indoor heated pool, sauna, some small cold water plunge pools, luxurious furniture, and lavish decoration. As Russia's president, Putin certainly has a lot of vital responsibilities to his nation and country. However, Vladimir's first priority remains his body. That's why after a healthy breakfast, Putin always wants to burn these calories with 2 hours of swimming. It's a well-known fact that Putin takes a lot of his governing decisions while he is swimming. You must be wondering when exactly he goes for official business, but Vladimir Putin does not put his official business in the morning. At this point, it's well past 2 p.m. and different ministers and journalists are waiting for Putin's advice on how to run the country. After all, nothing happens in Russia without the supreme leader's knowledge. Putin is well known for being too paranoid, and because of this, the president has a firm grip on every aspect of running the country, but everyone who wants to meet him will have to wait a little longer. According to most visitors, the average wait time to see the Russian president is between 2 and 4 hours, depending on how soon you need an answer. If you're a journalist, you might need to bring snacks to eat while you wait. that. The positive aspect is that people who have to meet Putin will probably be waiting in one of the Kremlin's many high-class conference rooms. They are well known for looking more like a throne room than a normal cabinet or meeting room. While everyone waits for Putin to arrive, he is still working on his body, which is the only thing that isn't shown in Russia right now. So after the intense swimming session, Putin moves on to the gym. Although he trains in an outfit that is said to have cost more than $3,500, for a 69-year-old, Putin works out a lot to stay in top shape because it seems he wants the world to know he is a fit and strong leader. It's a well-known fact he loves taking part in all kinds of physical and contact sports, among which his favorites are hockey and judo. In fact, the Russian leader dedicates time to self-defense and is an experienced martial artist with a black belt in judo, and he often fights with members of his guard unit. Up until a few months ago, Putin was also an honorary president of the International Judo Federation. However, due to the Ukrainian conflict, his role in the IJA was interrupted. In the mid-afternoon, Putin's body has finally had enough, and it's time to get dressed for the day. As anyone can guess, the Russian leader is not too frivolous with his dress code, as he mainly wears suits with a tie. When the president dresses, he chooses to wear only tailor-made suits in conservative colors. His choice of ties is usually gloomy to match his personality. His favorite brands are Kyton and Brioni, which unfortunately won't supply the Russian president with new suits anytime soon due to the sanctions the EU imposed on Russia. However, Putin won't be seen wearing a barrel anytime soon, as his suit collection is worth tens of thousands of dollars. Usually the traffic in Moscow is an incubus, but not for the president, as he has a private road with a police escort the whole way from his house to his office in the Kremlin. Once in the office, Putin dedicates himself solely and exclusively to work. Putin is well known for being paranoid at times, and this is expressly shown with his detest for tech at work. He refuses to use a computer or a smartphone, preferring to sort through folders of documents instead of a database. His office is famous for having no windows and has absolutely no technology allowed inside due to security reasons. The only way to communicate is through an old Soviet landline telephone. After all, the danger that he could be intercepted is too great otherwise. In fact, when the president travels abroad, his staff substitutes everything in the hotel room before he arrives, from soap to toilet paper, to avoid being spied on. The president begins his workday by reading through the reports of the Domestic Intelligence Service, the FSB, the Foreign Intelligence Service, the SVR, and his Personal Protection Army, the FSO. Putin is a control freak, and because of this, he has to know exactly what's going on in his country and around the world. After familiarizing himself with the truth about Russia, it's time for the president to find out what his people have said. He has to immerse himself in reading for several hours, scrutinizing with great attention the reports of his intelligence service, but also most of the national and international press titles. The president spends considerable time looking through publications printed in the heavily censored national tabloids. He especially likes to read articles that report positive things about him, which are easy to find in state-run media and in the lightly censored broadsheets that are considered the best press in Russia. Finally, his least favorite, for obvious reasons, is the foreign press. After all, Putin hasn't got a great reputation outside of Russia, but he also needs to know what's going on in the world and what he can use to his advantage. After this meticulous reading, the Russian president continues his working day by making his telephone calls with the heads of foreign states, as well as other interlocutors of the same importance. When Putin is in a good mood, he enjoys watching funny videos of himself, but never in his office. Putin's daily routine is broken up into 15-minute blocks, but he's not the only one who uses this strategy to maximize productivity. Most world leaders use this method to manage their time and plan their meetings, press conferences, and wars. All of this is planned out way in advance, and Putin sticks to the schedule even when he travels abroad. When Putin goes to international events, he doesn't spend any money. His delegation usually stays in luxury hotels that SVR and FSB choose after a thorough inspection. For Putin's arrival, the whole building is locked up. The president is equally secure during his air travels. He flies with a fleet of no less than 3 airplanes, which carry his personal goods as well as his servants and other government employees. The presidential fleet even flies from its own terminal at the Moscow airport. One of them is just a fake. If anyone wants to start World War III, all they have to do is shoot down the Russian president. Putin doesn't trust anyone, so he usually has an army of servants, chefs, cleaners, and other service workers with him. As you might have guessed by his waking hour, Putin is a night owl. According to him, that's the time when he's most productive and does most of his job. Putin usually works late from home as he dislikes the 25-minute journey to the Kremlin. As a result, Vladimir leads the strategic work for the late hours. It's quite often that he calls his ministers or advisors way past midnight to discuss actions and governmental affairs. Typically, his dinner is just as healthy as his breakfast, although he likes to eat some fancy food like caviar on special occasions. Vladimir Putin has a weak spot for pistachio-flavored ice cream, and he has been seen sharing a cone with more than one world leader. While most Westerners imagine that Putin enjoys a bottle or two of vodka every night, the fact is that Putin doesn't drink, except for the odd occasion when he enjoys a glass of wine at foreign diplomatic receptions. exceptions. But considering the country's long history of social issues due to alcoholism, many of the top-ranking Russian leaders have sworn off of the fiery water they're known for. Putin usually goes to bed around 3 a.m., ready to repeat the cycle the next day. Now, this is not a very family-friendly schedule, but for Russia's leader, that's not a problem. Since 2013, he has been a single man with little time and a whole country in his hands. I'd say he's got a lot of other things to focus on besides a relationship. He and his wife, Lyudmila, got a divorce in 2013. He now lives alone with his dogs. He has 2 daughters, but not much is known about them because the FSB is probably always looking for possible threats to their lives. So don't follow them around. President Putin adores his 3 dogs, a black Labrador named Connie, an Akita Inu named Yumi, and a Karakachan dog named Buffy. Putin received the last one as a gift by Bulgaria's Prime Minister Boyko Borisov, and he has fallen in love with a fluffy drool ball ever since. Without doubt, we can say that these dogs live a far better life than most Russians. Putin has a personal wealth of above $100 billion, and because of this, he certainly can afford the best for his most loyal friends. The Russian president is a man of habits, and he doesn't show off his wealth very often. Vladimir Putin has a very nice home and a lot of land, but other than that, he tries to keep a simple look for his people. He has his own army to protect him, a multi-million-dollar home in the middle of nowhere, and despite his attitude, he is still loved by a good part of the Russian populace and adored as a great leader. He has prominent allies with the Chinese government and is a contender with the USA in terms of power. So would you rather live in isolation like Putin and have a lot of money, or would you rather be free? Let us know in the comments below. Before you go, make sure you give us a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Tap the bell icon to turn on notifications so you can stay up to date with all of our latest videos. If you want to discover how Donald Trump spends his billions, also check out this video showing up on screen right now, and I'll see you in the next video.